Building a birdhouse. The idea for a birdhouse. It was a sunny Saturday afternoon, and the Smith family was spending time in their backyard. The birds were chirping happily in the trees, and Lily and Jack were watching them fly from branch to branch. "I love watching the birds," Lily said. "Wouldn't it be nice if they had a little house to stay in?" "That's a great idea," Jack replied. "We could build a birdhouse for them." John, their dad, overheard the conversation and smiled. "Building a birdhouse sounds like a fun project. We can make it together as a family." Lily and Jack were excited about the idea, and they quickly ran to tell their mom, Emily. "We're going to build a birdhouse," Jack announced. Emily smiled. "That sounds wonderful. I'm sure the birds will love it." Planning the birdhouse. The next morning, the family sat around the kitchen table to plan their birdhouse project. John brought out a piece of paper and a pencil. "We need to design the birdhouse before we start building," he said. "Let's make a list of the things we'll need." Lily grabbed the pencil and started writing. "We'll need wood, nails, a hammer, and paint," she said. "And we'll need a saw to cut the wood," Jack added. Emily thought for a moment. "What about a roof to protect the birds from the rain? And we should make sure there's a small hole for the birds to enter." John nodded. "That's right. The entrance hole needs to be big enough for the birds, but small enough to keep other animals out." With the plan ready, the family decided to visit the hardware store to buy the materials. Buying the materials. At the hardware store, the family looked for everything they needed. They found a stack of wooden boards, nails, a hammer, and different colors of paint. "Should we paint the birdhouse green?" Jack asked, holding up a can of green paint. "I think we should make it colorful," Lily suggested. "We could use green, blue, and maybe even some yellow." Emily smiled. "That sounds like a fun idea. The birds will love it." Once they had gathered all the materials, they went to the checkout and paid for everything. The family was excited to get home and start building the birdhouse. Building the birdhouse. Back at home, the family set up a workspace in the backyard. John measured the wooden boards and marked where they needed to be cut. "Jack, can you hand me the saw?" John asked. Jack passed the saw to his dad, and together they carefully cut the wood into the right sizes for the birdhouse. Emily helped by holding the pieces of wood steady. Once the pieces were cut, it was time to put the birdhouse together. John showed the kids how to hammer the nails into the wood to connect the sides and the roof. "Be careful with the hammer," John said, showing Jack how to hold it properly. "You don't want to hit your fingers." Lily helped by holding the nails in place, and Jack hammered them in. Slowly but surely, the birdhouse began to take shape. Painting the birdhouse. After the birdhouse was built, it was time to paint it. The family laid out some old newspapers to protect the grass from the paint. "I'll paint the roof blue," Lily said, dipping her brush into the can of blue paint. "And I'll paint the walls green," Jack added, carefully brushing the green paint onto the wooden sides. Emily and John helped by painting the base and adding some yellow accents. The birdhouse started to look bright and colorful, just as Lily had imagined. "Let's add some flowers on the side," Lily suggested. "It'll make the birdhouse even prettier." Jack agreed. "That's a great idea." With the birdhouse painted and decorated, the family set it aside to dry. Hanging the birdhouse. The next day, after the paint had dried, it was time to hang the birdhouse in the backyard. The family looked for the perfect spot in one of the trees. "How about this branch?" John suggested, pointing to a sturdy branch that hung over the garden. "That's perfect," Emily said. "It's high enough to keep the birds safe, and they'll have a great view of the yard." John used a ladder to carefully hang the birdhouse on the branch. Once it was secure, the family stepped back to admire their work. "It looks amazing," Lily said, clapping her hands. "I hope the birds will like it." "They'll love it," Jack said confidently. "It's the perfect birdhouse." Waiting for the birds. Over the next few days, the family kept an eye on the birdhouse, hoping to see some birds move in. "I wonder when the birds will come," Jack said one afternoon. "Sometimes it takes a little time for them to find a new home," Emily explained. "But once they see how beautiful the birdhouse is, I'm sure they'll come." One morning, as Lily was playing in the backyard, she spotted a small bird flying near the birdhouse. "Mom, Dad, come quick," she called, excitedly waving her arms. "There's a bird checking out the birdhouse." The family rushed outside to watch as the bird carefully inspected the new house. After a few moments, it flew inside and began to make itself comfortable. The birds move in. Over the next few weeks, more birds started visiting the birdhouse. They brought small twigs and leaves to build their nest inside. "It looks like the birds are making a home," John said, watching from the kitchen window. The family was thrilled to see that the birdhouse was a success. Every day, they enjoyed watching the birds fly in and out, chirping happily. "I'm so glad we built the birdhouse," Lily said. "It's nice to know we helped the birds find a safe place to live." Jack nodded. "And it was fun working together as a family. We should build something else next time." Emily smiled. "Maybe we can build another birdhouse or even a bird feeder. There's always more we can do to help the birds." Reflecting on the project. That evening, as the sun set and the birds settled into their new home, the family sat together on the porch, reflecting on the birdhouse project. "I'm really proud of how it turned out," Jack said. "It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be." Lily nodded. "And it was fun to paint it. I think the birds love the colors." John smiled. "You both did a great job. Building something with your own hands is always rewarding." Emily added, "And it's great to know that we've made a little difference for the birds. They have a safe place to live because of us." The family sat quietly for a few moments, listening to the sound of the birds chirping happily from their new home.